I want to talk about the mindset change that occurs when you're done partying all the time. There comes a point where every Friday, every Saturday, every Sunday, and sometimes even late Thursday, you start partying. You're partying all weekend. You're getting drunk, spending money on bottles, and your whole weekend just is a whole blur in your memory. You don't even remember half the stuff that happened. But there comes a point when you're following the things that I'm saying in my videos of trying to act mature and focus on you, focus on getting better, focus on helping your family, helping those around you, helping your kin brothers, your twin sisters. There comes this change in mindset where the mentality stops focusing on the constant partying and you start thinking things in a different way. You start thinking, how can I make even more money by growing the money that I already have instead of spending it? When you're spending that $40, $50, $80 a week on bottles, that is money that you are putting in somebody else's pocket. It's not money that's staying in your pocket. It is not money that is working for you. It is a transfer of your wealth to making somebody else more wealthy. And 6 months down the road, or a year, or if you think back a few years and you think of all the times that you have bought bottles, how much money could you have saved up if you bought less than half of what you have bought? You know, Hennessy is good, E&J is good, but it all has to be in moderation. When you're inebriated, your reflexes slow. You're not as aware of your surroundings. Even when you're with friends, things can happen to you. And if you happen to pass out, anything can happen to you and you wouldn't even know. I remember one time when I had just turned 21, I had partied my ass off and I had passed out and I woke up. Everybody was gone from the apartment. And my friend that owned the apartment, he was asleep. The music was still blaring. I didn't even know where the heck my cell phone was or where the keys to my own apartment were. I thought somebody had went through my pockets when I was passed out, but I still had everything. And when I went searching, it was under the sofa, under the cushions of the sofa that I was sleeping on. I had the keys and my wallet had fallen to the cushion and had everything. All of my money, all of my IDs were still there. I looked through my phone and somehow I was sending those drunk texts to people. And those drunk texts that you guys send that it's incoherent. Sometimes it's just a jumble of letters and you're like, why the heck did I write that? What was I thinking about? Sometimes you mess up and you start texting your exes and you start saying some weird ass stuff. Anyways, the whole point of this being is there comes a time where your mentality switches, where you want to focus on being fiscally responsible. You want to have your savings, you want to have your cushion. You start not worrying about getting the Jordans as soon as they get released. Instead, focusing on putting that money you would have spent on Jordans. You're taking 25%, putting it in stocks, taking another 25%, put it in precious metals, take another 25%, put it in the savings account, and the other 25% you would have spent on those Jordans. You can buy yourself $30 pair of shoes. and spend it on something else. But you have to remember that a pair of Jordans, just like a Rolex watch, at the end, these products do the same thing as a lower price version. Rolex tells the time just like any other timepiece. And some may argue less accurately because it is an automatic movement. It is not a quartz movement, which is the most accurate. So a Casio can tell better time than my Rolex. It's battery operated. But it's a status symbol. It's a ego. It's a pride that you have for yourself. A sign that you're doing well. But you can't have those signs that you're doing well if you are not in reality doing well. You want to reach the point that you're doing well, that you're not worried, damn, I just spent $10,000 on a watch. What if my car breaks down tomorrow? Am I going to have money to fix it? No, you want to have enough money that when you finally are able to buy whatever you want, you don't have to worry if the next day something breaks in your house, if your refrigerator goes out, if your car breaks down. You don't have to worry about scrambling for money or worrying about how you're going to fix it. You already thought ahead. You already thought 3 steps ahead. Interest rates on savings accounts suck right now, but if you don't want to take the risk of investing in a stock where you could potentially lose everything that you invested, it is a safer bet. Or if you can afford to not touch whatever money you have there for 6 months to a year, put it in a savings bond. So that way it accumulates interest. Inflation is continually eating at our standard of living. I don't remember how many of you guys can remember when a gallon of gas was like $1.10, $1.20 a gallon. Many people listening to this probably were born in a generation that was over $2.50 already. And remember the time when it went up and bubbled up to $4 a gallon? These are unforeseen things that slowly chip away at your money. So you gotta have interest-bearing accounts to grow your money. You gotta have investments. Invest in yourself. Invest in companies. When we die, we don't take anything with us. But since we do not know the day in which death calls us home, since we do not know the day that Yahweh will come for us, you have to take care of yourself. As much as I preach about brotherhood and making sure that you're uplifting those around you as well as yourself, just because you are doing it, just because I'm doing it, doesn't mean other people share the same mentality. So you have to always keep the most lookout on yourself. Because in the end, sometimes people who you think are your friends for years can end up being a Brutus and stab you in the back. There are certain types of people out there that as long as there are handouts to be had, they will keep their hand out to receive. And you can't be one of those people that every time somebody comes asking you for $10, you willingly take it out to them and say, hey, don't worry about paying me back or, whatever, because then they're going to think that you're Santa Claus, and that's not the way it's supposed to be. There are other ways to help people without having to give money all the time. Just like when you see a homeless person and they ask for change, sometimes they use that money for drugs. Instead, ask them if they're hungry, come back with a hamburger. It only costs like $1.05 or $1.10 at McDonald's to get a cheeseburger. If they are truly hungry and truly need it, they will be grateful. Same way when a friend comes asking you for help constantly or needs a large amount of money. You can't just readily have your personal account open to them. You have to see how you can rationally help them without letting them do most of the work themselves, if you get what I'm saying. Because when there's no effort required or little effort required, people are going to always rely on that. I can't stress enough how important it is to look after yourself, especially in this time and age where it seems like a lot of things are going downhill. Things are getting a lot more expensive. Life is getting harder than it was back there. A lot of people complain about how bad things were in the 90s, and they were bad for a different reason. But you got people who have their priorities screwed up. You have people whose priorities are on the new Jordans, or on getting the Mercedes that they can't even afford. That they might even get it repoed in a year, but they just want to have that image. When in the end, sooner or later, if you don't have the money to back up that image, it's going to burst. And when it bursts, you don't want to become the laughingstock. You want to continually build yourself higher and higher and higher, while at the same time rewarding yourself, but in a small way. Holidays are a perfect example. Christmas has come and gone. People give gifts on King's Day. Don't overstretch yourself on gifts. A lot of us have big families. A lot of us have a lot of good friends. You can't expect every time you give somebody $100 or more gift that you're going to receive one in return. And you can't overstretch yourself that way to keep up an appearance that you can afford to give it to them when you have 50 other gifts to get. As they say, it's the thought that counts. I'm not saying get something from Dollar Tree, but say, look, I know the things that you like, and I thought this is something you can use every day. It might not be much, but I got it from my heart. And if they're a true person, a mature person, or a true friend, they will understand. People who are greedy and like, man, why didn't you get me this new diamond watch? Or why didn't you get me this diamond necklace? I'll be like, man, first off, you're my friend. But that doesn't mean I have to be supporting you monetarily. I don't have to help you front. I want you to grow. So I got you a $50 savings bond. I got you 5 shares in a small cap company or in a blue chip stock. That's a more thoughtful gift than being like, man, here are the brand new Jordans that just came out. Because, man, the value goes down like that. And people don't really respect material possessions. Once you get on the Jordans once, you're going to be expecting Jordans or even more the next time. Or you're going to be expecting, instead of 1 pair, you get them 2 pairs. While all the meanwhile, you're wearing New Balance or you're wearing Champions, you're buying somebody else some high-end stuff. Focus on you, your immediate family first. Then a small percentage of what's left over, 10%, can be used to help others out. The things that they need, not the things that they want. You got too many Instagram attention seekers, or we forget we can't eat Versace, we can't eat Louis Vuitton. Those are nice to have, but you have to make sure that you have the money to afford it in full, in cash, before you can think about buying those things. Because if you're buying these things on credit card or barely can afford it, or you're using all of your savings in your bank account to get that Versace belt or that Versace dress if you're a female, or that diamond pendant or that necklace, that's not the way to go. You're stripping yourself of your independence financially. I want all of you guys out there to succeed in life financially, to take care of yourself, to not worry if anything happens over the next 3 months. You'll be fine. You don't have to ask family, friends, or go to a bank for help. You don't have to max out your credit cards. There's this maturing that needs to happen for you to realize that although money isn't everything, but financial stability is the foundation in which you build your life. ADR, this is King Black.